For 2 millennia, a single name was the universal symbol of humanity's most unforgivable betrayal. 30 pieces of silver and a kiss that sealed the Messiah's fate. But in 1978, in the arid sands of Egypt, a peasant stumbled upon something history had tried to erase, a papyrus manuscript revealing a disturbing truth. What if Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus not out of greed, but out of obedience? What if the greatest villain in the Bible was, in fact, the only disciple who truly understood Christ's mission? Prepare to enter the forbidden archives of faith, for what this secret gospel reveals absolutely changes everything you believe about the sacrifice on the cross. If you seek the truth beyond the obvious, subscribe now so you don't miss the next secrets revealed. The journey of this document seems like something out of a science fiction film, but it's purely real. It all began in a cave near El Minya, Egypt. Inside a limestone box lay what we now know as the Tchacos Codex. But this papyrus wasn't immediately handed over to archaeologists. It spent decades circulating in the dangerous black market for antiquities. It was stolen, hidden in a frozen vault on Long Island, and almost completely disintegrated before National Geographic managed to rescue and translate it in 2006. But what, after all, is the Gospel of Judas? It's part of the Gnostic texts, a current of early Christianity that was persecuted and labeled as heresy by the official church. Gnosticism preached that salvation came not only through faith, but through gnosis, a secret and profound knowledge of divinity. While the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John focused on the public biography of Jesus, Gnostic texts claimed to record private and mystical conversations that took place away from the crowds. The Gospel of Judas is the most explosive of these texts, as it does not present Judas as a traitor driven by the devil, but as Jesus' intimate friend, the only one capable of understanding that the kingdom of God was not of this world. Opening these pages transports us to a time when different views of Christ struggled to survive, and this particular version was buried by time for being considered too dangerous for the pillars the church was building. The heart of this manuscript lies in a dialogue that turns the New Testament upside down. In the text, Jesus laughs at the ignorance of the other 11 apostles, who were still seeking a political and earthly kingdom. He calls Judas aside and says, "Stay away from the others, and I will tell you the mysteries of the kingdom." The central revelation is shocking. Jesus explicitly asks to be betrayed. For the Gnostics, the human body was a material prison that suffocated the divine spark of the soul. Jesus' ultimate goal was to liberate his spiritual essence from this shell of flesh, and for that he needed to die. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed an accomplice brave enough to bear the burden of eternal infamy. Jesus says to Judas, "You will sacrifice the man who clothes me." In other words, Judas was the chosen instrument to liberate the Spirit of Christ. While the other apostles saw the sacrifice as a tragedy, Judas saw it as the ultimate liberation. The manuscript describes Judas being enveloped by a luminous cloud and entering a divine realm during this conversation. There is no remorse, no regret for silver coins. What we see is a profound spiritual pact where Judas accepts being the face of evil before the world so that Jesus' master plan could be completed. He knew he would be cursed by future generations, but he accepted the role of villain to be the hero behind the scenes of eternity. But if this text existed, why isn't it in the Bible we read today? The answer lies in the power and unification of the early church. In the 2nd century, leaders like Bishop Irenaeus of Lyon fought to establish a single, solid doctrine. For them, the Gospel of Judas was a dangerous fiction created by groups that wanted to destabilize the order. The text was banned and destroyed, surviving only through copies hidden by monks or devotees who refused to let this version die. From a historical perspective, the Gospel of Judas proves that early Christianity was far more diverse and complex than we imagine. There was no single way of thinking. There was intense debate about who Jesus was and what the role of his followers was. The importance of this manuscript is not necessarily to prove that Judas did not betray, but rather to show that a large part of early Christians believed in this version. Today, theologians and historians debate whether the text is a late interpretation or whether it carries echoes of a very ancient oral tradition that was silenced by the victors of history. The fact that science has confirmed the papyrus's authenticity through carbon-14 dating forces the modern world to confront an uncomfortable question: how much of our spiritual history has been shaped by political decisions and censorship of the past? Judas remains the piece that doesn't fit in the puzzle, forcing us to look into the shadows of faith where truth often prefers to hide. But if Judas was the chosen disciple, the confidant who accepted the burden of being hated so that Jesus' plan could be fulfilled, why was his end so tragic and lonely? If he acted out of obedience and not guilt, how can we explain his terrible final fate? Traditional scriptures narrate a desperate suicide, but the contradictions between the accounts are brutal and hide secrets that most prefer not to touch. Was Judas's end the ultimate proof of his sacrifice, or a narrative created to ensure his voice would never be heard? This is a mystery that demands its own investigation, where the details of the field of blood reveal a story even darker than you imagine. But that is a topic for our next meeting. The Gospel of Judas holds up an unsettling mirror. It forces us to question the nature of judgment and how narratives are constructed. If we look at history through different lenses, the traitor becomes the martyr, and the crime becomes an act of supreme obedience. We are not here to tell you what you should believe, but to show that the mystery of faith is far vaster than the pages of a single book can contain. The figure of Judas Iscariot, caught between the kiss in Gethsemane and the silence of the Egyptian sands, continues to challenge our understanding of good and evil. And you, what do you think of this secret knowledge? Could it be that humanity's greatest betrayal was in fact the greatest secret shared between a master and his most faithful disciple? Leave your comment below. I read them all and I'd love to hear your perspective. If this dive into the forbidden mysteries of faith has opened your mind, don't leave without subscribing to the channel. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're just beginning to unlock the archives that time has tried to bury. Like this video to help this truth reach more people and share it with that friend who loves a historical mystery. Click on the video that appears on your screen now to continue exploring the secrets of the apostles. Until our next investigation.